Single dad discovers his nanny hidden on the floor. What followed was incredibly life-changing. Jake's heart raced as he pushed through the crowd of the neighborhood block party. His kids, Mia and Ethan, were off somewhere, running wild, laughter echoing around him. But he felt that familiar tightness in his chest, worries swirling about bills, a job lost, and the daunting task of being a single dad. And then, he caught a glimpse of Maria, the nanny he had hired to help out. Only she wasn't just managing their chaotic household, she was a lifeline. And right now, he couldn't tell whether he was more grateful or terrified. It had been a rough few months since he lost his job at the manufacturing plant. Every day seemed like a relentless battle against the weight of financial strain. And yet, amid that storm, Maria stepped in, charming his kids and providing the kind of loving presence Jake desperately needed. Watching the three of them on the swing set, an image so peaceful, he thought maybe things were getting better. But fate can be cruel. As the sun dipped beneath the horizon, shadows grew long over the suburban street. He overheard Mrs. Thompson gossiping with a group of neighbors. "Have you heard? That nanny of Jake's, there's something off about her. I've heard rumors." The words pierced through him like ice knives, and anxiety twisted in his gut. Later that night, after the party ended and the children slept, Jake found Maria in the corner of the living room. She was huddled on the floor, her shoulders shaking, a portrait of her own child clutched in her hands as tears streamed down her face. In that moment, reality hit him harder than he could bear. She wasn't a stranger, she was a woman fighting her own battles, just like him. They both wore pain like a heavy cloak, hidden under the pretense of the perfect suburban life. "Maria?" he whispered, kneeling beside her. "What's wrong?" "I just miss him so much," she sobbed, her voice raw with emotion. "People see me as a failure. They don't know my story." Tears pricked at the corners of Jake's eyes. He was losing her, he understood now. Not only was he at risk of losing a helping hand but also the goodwill of a person who genuinely cared for his children. Overwhelmed, he acted out of misguided protection, firing her the next morning. What faced him was the weight of their confused expressions, the way Mia's little heart broke, and Ethan's bewilderment. Alone, he faced a mountain of guilt that crushed him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days rolled into the 4th of July celebration. Surrounded by laughter and fireworks, Jake felt a subtle shift. Maria was volunteering at the community games, her joy undeniable, even through the sneers of some neighbors. There she was, vibrant, leading the kids dreadfully and perfectly, despite all the judgment. Jake's heart raced for a different reason now. The warm glow of connection broke through the icy barriers he'd built. He knew he had to confront the community, to stand for what was right, love and acceptance. But would they listen? As the bursting colors lit up the sky, Jake stood at the precipice of his choices, the strength of his convictions dangling like a spark waiting to ignite. Could courage truly mend the rift between judgment and compassion? The fireworks faded, leaving trails of smoke and flickering lights hanging in the dusky sky. Jake stood frozen, heart beating loudly in his chest. There had to be a way to reconnect with Maria, to bridge the gap that his own fears had widened. He had made a mistake, and it gnawed at him like an unwelcome guest. Mia squealed as she raced towards the last glow of fireworks, hands thrown up in innocent excitement. Ethan bounced behind her, a little lost in his own chase for fun. But Jake wasn't watching his kids anymore. His eyes were fixed on Maria, who was chatting with a group of parents, her laughter ringing out. That laughter had brought warmth into his home, filling the emptiness he'd felt since losing his job. "Why did I do it?" he muttered under his breath. Why did I let her leave? In the back of his mind, he sensed the neighbor's skeptical eyes. They watched him, waiting for him to falter, to fail. But now, in the face of Maria's joy, their whispers transformed into an unbearable weight pushing down on him. He took a deep breath and pushed through the crowd towards her. Each step felt like breaking through a wall built from his own doubts. "Maria!" he called. His voice barely rose above the din of laughter and crackling fireworks. But she turned, and their eyes met. For a brief moment, everything around them faded: the noise, the judgment, even the past days of misunderstanding. It was just the two of them, standing there on the edge of something larger than themselves. "Jake," she said, her smile shifting and faltering as she approached. There was uncertainty in her eyes, a flicker of hope but also a shadow of hurt. I didn't expect to see you here. Can we talk?" he asked, urgency knitting his brow. The surrounding festivities felt distant now. "I need to explain, I need to apologize." "Apologize?" Maria's tone was cautious, but there was a strain of warmth in her voice, almost like she wanted to believe him. They stepped away from the crowd, finding a quieter corner under the twinkling lights hanging in the trees, a canopy of stars surrounding them. "I made a huge mistake. I thought I was protecting the kids, protecting you. I let gossip and fear dictate my choices." "You deserve better than that, Maria," he said, his voice catching. "You've brought joy into my children's lives, and I can't lose you." "You fired me, Jake. You don't think I felt that? You think I wanted to be this struggling single mother? I came here to help," and instead her voice broke, and for a moment, the raw pain she held surfaced between them. They stood in the tender silence, hearts laid bare. "I know. I've been so lost, so panicked about everything," Jake admitted. "But I see it now. I need you, not just for the kids, but for me. You make our home alive." Maria hesitated, allowing his words to wrap around her like a soft blanket. Hope flickered in her eyes, but doubt still lingered like that distant echo of laughter. Could she trust him again? Still, as fireworks burst overhead, illuminating one another's faces, fragments of their past pain mixed with the light. The moment pulsed with possibility, every heartbeat a step toward reconciliation. "Jake, I appreciate you saying that," she replied softly, "but I can't go back to being just the nanny. That's not what it is for me anymore. I need to feel valued." Determination swelled within him. "Then let us build something real together. Let us face this together." Their eyes locked, and for once, Jake felt a spark of warmth replace the chill of uncertainty. But what lay ahead could be even more daunting. Unpredictable. Would they be able to cross that bridge from employer and employee to partners in this journey of life? As the colorful fireworks burst in the sky, illuminating their faces, Jake knew their next steps would be far from easy. But together, maybe they could transform that burden of pain into something entirely new. Would they find strength in unity, or would the fears that had once held him captive rise again? With that question looming in his heart, Jake took a deep breath, prepared to embrace whatever came. Next. The night air was cool, crisp against Jake's skin as he towed the line between hope and fear. Maria's gaze lingered on him, searching for something more, something beyond the apology that hung between them like an unplayed note. "I don't want to be just the nanny anymore," she said quietly, each word steady yet trembling with weight. "I want a place where I belong. Not out of pity or obligation, Jake." Her expression shifted, mixing vulnerability with defiance, and he felt a tug deep within him. "I get that. I really do," he replied, his voice earnest. "I've realized I've been living in a bubble of my own making. But what if we could create a new dynamic? Something where we're equals, not just employee and boss." Maria's brow raised slightly, clearly unsure if they could redefine what their relationship meant. Would that new beginning make room for love, or was it merely the excuse to dodge responsibility? "Do you think it could really be that simple?" she asked, her voice folding into uncertainty. Too many things are broken. I'm not sure if we can fix everything just like that. Nothing worthwhile is easy, Jake countered, a flicker of determination sparking within him. Look at us. We've weathered storms, and here we are, still standing together. The surrounding noise faded into a backdrop as they stood beneath the stars, encapsulated in a moment filled with promise and trepidation. Jake could see the constellations reflected in Maria's dark eyes, and with it, he imagined a future stitched together with resilience, laughter, and trust, like a patchwork quilt. And what if I fall apart again? Maria's voice was almost a whisper, a deeply personal vulnerability shared with the night. What if you change your mind? Jake reached for her hands, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. If we stumble, we'll get back up again. Together. I need you, Maria, not just for the kids, but for me. You make everything brighter. I'm ready to let go of my fears, but I need you to take that leap with me. For a moment, silence wrapped around them, heavier than the judgmental glances from their neighbors. The chaos of the fireworks, the chatter of the crowd, the world beyond felt distant. In this space, it was just them, a delicate balance hanging at the precipice of possibility. I want to believe in us, Maria finally said, her voice stronger. But we'll have to set new rules. New boundaries. I refuse to be hurt again. Then we figure it out together. One step at a time. Just saying the words made it feel more attainable, less like an uphill battle. Jake could almost taste the change in the air, like the scent of rain before a storm. She nodded slowly, her eyes softening. A hint of a smile crept onto her lips, igniting something deep within Jake, a flicker of hope that maybe they could carve out a brand new path from the smoldering remnants of their past. But then, just as they were about to lean into that moment, a shrill voice interrupted them. Dad! Dad! Did you see that one? It was Ethan, tugging at Jake's pant leg, eyes wide with excitement. Jake turned, heart leaping back into a chaotic rhythm. Yeah, buddy. It was amazing. He looked back at Maria, the moment suspended like a hanging star, and he could see she was trying to suppress a smile. Fireworks will always be captivating, Maria said, her tone shifting as she ruffled Ethan's hair. I want to go again. Mia joined the mix, dancing around with an uncontainable buzz. Jake chuckled, feeling an unexpected glee. The noise of the crowd pulled them both back as he kneeled down to meet his kids at eye level. How about a little mini sparkler show? Excitement bubbled in the air as Jake took both kids by the hands, glancing back over his shoulder at Maria, who was now a few paces away. Can you help us? He called out to her. As Maria stepped forward, a smile returned to her face. Without the chatter of fireworks and ecstatic kids, there was still a promise between them, like the crackling of an impending storm. Yeah, I'd love to, she replied, and for the first time that night, Jake felt a clear shift anew. Chapter was beginning to unfold. Together then? He called, feeling the edges of uncertainty begin to blur. Together, she affirmed, and Jake knew that their story was far from over. But as the kids laughed, drawing them back into their world, a question lingered in the back of his mind: were they truly ready to face the truths still lurking just beneath the surface? The sky erupted in glorious colors as the first sparkler ignited in Ethan's hand, illuminating their faces with its golden glow. Laughter bursting forth, they crowded around, the air thick with the smell of fireworks and sweet anticipation. Jake's heart danced along, overwhelmed by a sense of normalcy he thought he'd lost. This was his life, chaotic, messy, and threaded with moments like this. Look at mine. It's the biggest. Ethan shouted, swirling his sparkler in wild arcs, while Mia clapped her hands, eyes twinkling with joy. Maria watched them, a warm smile spreading across her face as she joined in, igniting her own sparkler. Okay, follow my lead, you little firework makers. The kids erupted into cheers, spiraling around her like tiny planets orbiting a radiant sun. Jake couldn't help but bask in the glow of the moment, both from the sparklers and from the deep bond reforming in front of him. Yet, Within the laughter, fears festered just below the surface. Maria had laid down new boundaries to protect her heart. Would they bring light or merely a cage? Better watch it, Ethan. You don't want to get burned. He called, trying to keep the playful tone while keeping an eye on Mia, who was twirling dangerously close. Why are you so worried, Dad? Ethan said, his brow furrowed with confusion. We're just having fun. Yeah, Dad, Mia chimed in. You're like a big OL safety sign. Jake chuckled, grateful for the banter that hit his thunderous thoughts. Deaths in the past had left him protective, but now it felt heavy. Just trying to keep you safe, that's all, he replied, though he could feel Maria's gaze drilling into him, gauging his instincts. Let them have their fun, Jake, Maria said softly, hovering closer, her sparkler casting flickering shadows across her features. Kids need to explore, take a few risks. He smiled at her, appreciating her gentle approach. Did she see what he was trying to do? Or was he merely projecting his fears onto her? All right, but I'm still watching, he joked, trying to ease the tension. If either of you catch fire, I'm running. Dad! They shrieked in unison, laughter ringing through the night. Yet, as bliss settled, doubt whispered like an unwelcome guest. Maria's words echoed, new rules, new boundaries. What if those boundaries pushed them further apart instead of knitting their lives together? He had to know how she felt when the kids weren't around and the laughter faded. Hey, Maria, he said, wiping his hands on his jeans and stepping closer when the kids were distracted by the spirals of sparks. Can we talk later? Just us. Her eyes widened slightly, caught off guard, but she nodded, her expressiveness quickly replaced by a cautionary smile. Yeah, later. After the show. They returned to the kids, crackling conversations filled the air, though through it all Jake felt the weight of unspoken thoughts slowly growing heavier. With a burst of excitement, the last firework illuminated the sky, causing the kids to gasp in unison. In that moment, Jake looked at Maria, and for a heartbeat, he saw the carefree spirit he had fallen for, the woman who wanted more than just a job. It was the essence of hope threaded with uncertainty, the same hope that tugged at his heart, giving him courage. And as the stars began to twinkle above them, a question formed, dangling in the silence that followed the last pop of color. Was their fragile connection strong enough to bear the burdens of their pasts, or would it crumble under the weight of expectations? The laughter around them faded into silence, and Jake felt the intensity of the moment shift. They stood on the edge of something monumental, teetering between potential and fear. Together, right? Maria asked, her voice a soft reminder that action would follow intention. Yeah, together, Jake replied, but inside, doubt simmered. What would that truly mean? As the kids ran around with excitement, laughter ricocheting in the air, Jake's heart pounded with a new question. What if together meant facing shadows he wasn't ready to confront? Was he prepared for what lay ahead? Or would their journey uncover more than they bargained for? The last spark hung in the sky, a brilliant white flare against the deepening blue, then fell away, leaving only the shadows of the night. Mia and Ethan flopped onto the grass, hands still raised like they could capture any lingering magic. Their giggles felt alive, free from worry, but for Jake, the laughter was a gentle reminder of how suffocating silence could be. Come on, you two. Time to clean up. Jake called, forcing a cheerful edge to his voice. He looked around, the remnants of celebration scattered over the yard. Empty juice boxes, fallen wrappers, and remnants of their sparklers littered the grass like memories of joy and trepidation. The night's not over, Dad. Ethan protested, flopping back onto the grass dramatically. We need to stargaze first. Yeah. You're ruining the fun. Mia joined in, her eyes wide and hopeful. Jake exchanged a glance with Maria. They were two sides of the same coin. Her warm smile urged him to loosen up while his protective instincts wanted to create structure from this delightfully chaotic moment. All right, a quick stargazing session. He chuckled at his own compromise, sitting down beside them on the grass, the cool blades tickling his skin. It was a small victory, but victories were made from small choices. They reclined, all four of them, forming a wobbly diamond shape under the expansive sky. Maria settled beside Jake, her presence comforting under the brilliant blanket of stars. Together, they pointed out the constellations, trading stories of giants and gods, weaving their hopes for the future into the cosmic tales. "Look, there's Orion!" Mia exclaimed, a little too excited. "And he's got his sword. And the dog," Ethan added, kicking his legs playfully, making Maria laugh. But Jake felt the edges of the moment fray. He risked a glance at Maria. About what I wanted to talk about he hesitated, as though the atmosphere around them could change at any moment. The kids' laughter softened, and their eyes widened, ready to snap back to full interest at any distraction. Later, after we admire the sky, Maria whispered back, her gaze still fixed upward. "They're enjoying this. We can chat when they settle down." A soft sigh escaped Jake's lips, a mixture of relief and frustration. He yearned for clarity, but he also recognized the need to honor the moment. First steps carried their weight. The air carried a promise, but a nagging uncertainty drummed in his chest. Time drifted lazily, filled with voices of kids bent on finding shapes in the cosmos. But each passing minute felt like an additional brick in his growing wall of worry. What if their honest, yet fragile connection couldn't withstand the storms of their different pasts? "Jake," Maria said softly, brushing against his arm, pulling him back from spiraling thoughts. "Whatever happens, you know the kids feel safe with you. That's what matters most." Her words were a balm, soothing him, yet injecting a different fear. What if they were too safe? Would they retreat into comfort instead of embracing the risks that growth demanded? Almost on cue, Ethan bolted upright. "Quick! A shooting star!" he exclaimed, pointing excitedly. The brief blaze of light sparked hope, illuminating all the fears Jake harbored. He made a secret wish. It was a simple one, a wish for strength and clarity in the tangled feelings that colored every interaction with Maria. "Did you make a wish?" Mia questioned, still gazing upward, believing in magic. "Of course. I wished for pizza," Ethan teased, earning a chorus of giggles. In those fleeting seconds, Jake found solace in their joy. As he reveled in the innocence surrounding him, something within him began to shift. Perhaps he didn't need all the answers tonight, maybe embracing uncertainty was part of the adventure. As the laughter faded into nighttime whispers, he put an arm around Maria's shoulders. The warmth between them felt like a tiny universe of its own, filled with potential, waiting to be explored. Was it just a flicker or a promise? Their silence was suddenly punctuated by Mia's urgent whisper. "Look! Something's moving." In the bushes. Jake's heart raced, a thrill driving through him at the unexpected turn. "What do you mean?" Mia pointed, her eyes wide with curiosity. The night grew still, a collective intake of breath as they all turned towards the movement. Is that a raccoon?" Ethan asked, squinting in the dim light. "What if it's something else?" Mia whispered, and dread mixed with intrigue. Jake shifted uncomfortably, thoughts racing. What was lurking in the dark? And more importantly, what was the next adventure waiting to unfold? A rustling sound echoed from the bushes, sharp and sudden, drawing all their attention. Mia's eyes flickered with both excitement and fear, and Ethan clutched her arm, wide-eyed. Jake's heart thudded in his chest as he tried to calm the rising tide of uncertainty swirling around them. "Let us go check it out together," he suggested, more to steady himself than for their sake. There was comfort in facing the unknown as a unit, even a twinge of bravery lingering in the back of his mind. Maria's fingers lightly squeezed his hand, and he could feel her calm seep into him. Then, cautiously, they all edged closer to the bushes. The shadows danced around them, and Jake tried to keep his breathing steady. "On the count of 3, he said, trying to sound assertive. 1, 2, 3. They all jumped forward simultaneously, adrenaline buzzing through their veins. What emerged was not a raccoon, but a small stray dog with big brown eyes, trembling but wagging its tail. It looked at them, confused and hopeful all at once. "Oh!" Mia squealed, kneeling down. "He is so cute. Can we keep him?" Ethan joined her, reaching out a hand. The dog sniffed cautiously, then licked Ethan's fingers. "Let us give him a little space," Jake said, relieved yet amused by the unexpected intruder. He shot Maria a glance. Her smile was infectious. In that moment, all worries about the weighty conversations ahead slipped away like clouds parting to reveal sunlight. "This little guy must be lost," Maria proposed, kneeling beside the kids. "What do you think we should name him?" "Buddy!" Ethan exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "He can be our star for the night." "Or Comet." Mia chimed in enthusiastically. Each of their suggestions tumbled out in rapid succession like the rapid fire of fireworks they had enjoyed earlier. Jake couldn't help but chuckle at their enthusiasm. "How about we wait until we're sure he is ours? We should look for his owner first." In a flash, Mia's candor kicked in, "But we can't just leave him here." He observed the energetic whirlwind of their imagination centered around the dog. This was a chance, a sweet escape from the heaviness of their previous discussions. "I'll check for tags," Jake said. He reached down gently, feeling the collar under the dog's messy fur. As he brushed away the dirt, he spotted the name and number reflected in the soft glow of the fairy light strung above them. A moment of triumph surged through him. He has a name. His name is Scout. There was a wave of joy that washed over them, the kids leaping up to cheer, their worries forgotten. "Can we call him Scouter for short?" Mia suggested, giggling. "Fine. But only if he helps us find stars." Ethan joined in, still bouncing on his heels. Jake laughed, but a small part of him felt a familiar tug of anxiety creeping back in. Would this be another distraction, another way to avoid the heart of the matter waiting to be discussed? No, he reminded himself. Tonight was about these moments and melting away the burdens they all carried, even if just for a little while. As the laughter echoed in the night air, he couldn't shake the thought that this was what they needed: adventure and spontaneity to fill the empty gaps. Watching the kids bounce around Scout, running with joy, a seed of hope began to take root in his heart, mixing with all that was uncertain. "All right, Team Scouter," he declared, a determined grin on his face. "Let us find this little guy a place to belong, and then let us stargaze again." Mia cheered, while Ethan raised his arms like a champion. They all turned to the sky, glittering with endless possibilities. But as Jake stood, the warmth of the moment lingered. He felt a sudden shift, a whisper of tension from the back of his mind. "What am I going to do about Maria?" he thought, the lingering conversation still weighing on him like a stone. His phone buzzed in his pocket, jarring him back. The screen lit up with a message. With one look, Jake's heart dropped, and everything changed. What could it be that demanded his attention now? The night just took another unexpected twist. And he couldn't help but wonder what new adventure lay ahead. Jake's heart raced as he pulled his phone out of his pocket, the bright screen glowing like an ominous beacon in the comforting darkness. The message was from his brother, Ben. "We need to talk. It's important." The words felt heavy, weighted with something he couldn't quite pinpoint. What could possibly be so urgent? He glanced at Maria, who was still engaged in a playful banter with the kids and Scout. They were a blur of laughter and joy that brightened the anxiety wrapping around him like a thick fog. Still, that heaviness gnawed at him. He didn't want to break this moment, to pull the joyous atmosphere apart like a thread unraveling from a sweater. But how could he ignore it? It struck him that he had obligations beyond this evening of light-heartedness. "Hey, Maria," Jake called, taking a step back from the kids. "I need to make a quick call. Can you keep an eye on Scout?" "Of course," she replied, her voice bright and light. Jake was grateful for her patience, even if he sensed her own worries lurking beneath the surface. He stepped aside, his heart still thumping in his chest. The phone felt oddly heavy in his hand as he called Ben. He could hear the distant joy of laughter behind him, the chirping of crickets. "Hey, Jake," Ben answered after the first ring. His tone was serious, sending a ripple of unease through Jake. "Something's come up. You need to come home right away." "Wait, why? What's going on?" Panic crept up his spine. Images of impending disaster flashed in his mind. "Just trust me, okay? I'll explain when you get here. It's about Dad." A storm brewed within him. "Is he okay?" "What do you mean?" Silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. "He's not himself. I don't know what to do. You need to be here." Jake's stomach twisted as dread replaced the earlier lightness of the night. Abandoning an adventure with the kids for something dark and serious was hard to face. "All right, I'll be right there," he managed, hanging up feeling unsteady. His mind raced with possibilities he didn't want to entertain. He turned back to the scene he was now yearning to cling to. Mia was hugging Scout tightly while Ethan mimicked the dog's playful puppy bounces. Maria laughed, a sound that filled the air with such warmth. "Jake? You okay?" Maria asked, her expression shifting to one of concern. "Yeah, fine," he lied, feeling the knots in his stomach tighten further. "Did something happen?" She prodded gently. He shook his head, forcing a smile. "Just the usual family stuff." Her eyes narrowed slightly, catching his unease. There was a moment of silence between them, a hidden tension simmering just under the surface. "Maybe we should," and just as he started, a sudden bark interrupted him. Scout had spotted something moving in the distance. The little dog took off into the bushes, tail wagging furiously. The kids squealed as the chase began. "Scout! Wait!" Mia called. Jake's heart leaped. The urgent playfulness yanked him away from his darker thoughts. But that tugging anxiety didn't just fade, it loomed over the fun like a dark cloud waiting to rain. As they ran after Scout, the warm glow of fairy lights and laughter illuminated a path that felt both safe and precarious. What would happen when the night ended and the realities of life tightened their grips again? With the joyous cries of Mia and Ethan echoing in his ears, Jake felt a shard of uncertainty slice through him. What happens when the adventure is over? The question lingered in the air, the children chasing joy oblivious to the storm waiting to gather overhead. And yet, as Scout's paws danced through the grass, Jake could feel the night holding its breath, teetering on the edge of something far deeper than any game of fetch. Would he be able to find his way back to peace after tonight? Or was this bound to become a moment of change he never anticipated? Jake inhaled deeply, clenching the phone in his palm as laughter echoed around him, punctuated by the panting breaths of Scout pausing to catch his breath. The illusion of peace folded in on itself as memories flooded back, the sounds of hollering from holidays past, the flickering light of winter evenings spent sprawled across the couch with stories, and his father's hearty laugh that used to fill every room. But that laughter felt far away now, almost like it belonged to someone else. "Jake! Look!" Ethan shouted, crouching beside Scout while trying to gather the furry ball of energy in his arms. Mia joined him, her tiny fingers wriggling, attempting to catch Scout as he danced around them in circles. Their joy, innocent and untainted, put a small smile on Jake's face. Yet, just beneath that smile was an ache, a reminder that none of this would last. "Hey guys, let's give Scout a minute to breathe, okay?" Maria suggested, her voice warm yet calming. "How about we make a snack together? We could use some ice cream, right?" "Yeah." The kids cheered in unison as they bounded toward Maria like she had just proposed a grand adventure. Jake watched them, momentarily caught in the sweet simplicity of the moment, but the looming urgency pinched his heart once more. He finally turned to Maria, the gentle glow of golden light framing her face. "I have to go, Maria," he said, his throat tightening. Go. She echoed, surprise curling her brow. What do you mean? Now. At this hour? My dad something's wrong. Ben needs me to come home immediately. Concern shadowed her beautiful eyes. Jake, are you sure it can't wait? It's late. He shook his head, resisting the weight of guilt. I can't ignore this. Ben sounded scared. He said Dad isn't himself. Okay, I understand. Maria stepped closer, placing a hand on his arm. But what if you need help when you get there? Help? He frowned. What do you mean? He might need someone to talk to. You deserve support too. Her voice was earnest, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered in his chest. But how could he burden her with his family's chaos? Maria, I appreciate it, but I can handle this. Her lips pressed together, concern palpable. Promise me you'll call, all right? I'll be thinking of you. He nodded, feeling guilt's grip tighten. He was grateful for her, more than she probably knew. The thought of losing her was just as terrifying as whatever awaited him at home. Hey! Ice cream awaits. Ethan shouted as he tugged at Maria's arm, ready to dive back into carefree moments, completely unaware of the storm brewing within his father's heart. Just give me a minute, Jake murmured, pulling away from Maria's touch, reluctantly walking back to confront his reality. The moment of indecision hung like a pendulum, swinging between his responsibility to family and the warmth of the love surrounding him. As Jake turned to glance one last time at the joyful chaos, Mia caught his eye and waved, a beaming smile on her face. It tugged him back for an instant. Would he ever be able to find the right balance between supporting his family and cherishing moments like this? With a heavy heart and determination, he strode towards his car, leaving the embrace of laughter behind. What awaited him in the shadows of home? With each step, he felt the weight of the unknown closing in. Little did he know, a revelation was waiting on the other side, one that would challenge everything he thought he knew about family. Would the truths released from that night open a new chapter in his life, one filled with connection, or seal a fate he feared deep down? As Jake drove through the dimly lit streets, the hum of the engine seemed to morph into a low thrum in his chest. Memories of laughter echoed, still echoes that felt achingly distant. Just as he began to drown in worry, the warmth of Maria's smile flashed in his mind. He gripped the steering wheel tighter, focusing on the road ahead, plotting his escape from bliss to turmoil. When he arrived home, the house stood silent, the kind of quiet that felt oppressive. Shadows clung to the edges of every room, as if they were waiting for something to break the stillness. Jake swung open the door, his heart racing. Ben! Dad? He called, his voice barely above a whisper. A muted response came from the direction of the living room. He hesitated, then stepped inside, the familiar scent of burnt coffee wafting from the kitchen. The sight that greeted him shattered whatever hope remained. Ben sat curled on the couch, his face drawn and pale, eyes sunken. In his hands, he held a small piece of paper, trembling as he passed it to Jake. What happened? Jake urged, crouching beside his brother. It's Dad, Ben rasped, his voice thick with a mixture of fear and sorrow. He got a letter. From the hospital, says he has been diagnosed. Jake's heart dropped. What are you talking about? Ben wiped a trembling hand across his forehead, looking as though he might cry. It's Alzheimer's. They said it's early stage, but... Inside, Jake felt as though the walls were closing in. A question hit him hard: how could Ben shoulder this alone? We'll figure this out, Jake said firmly, forced to sound hopeful when he felt anything but. We'll care for him together. Ben nodded, but Jake could see the doubt flickering behind his eyes like a dying bulb. I don't know how. I can't watch him slip away. Jake's mind raced. He'd seen his father's vibrant laughter turn into a mere shadow of what it used to be, the kind that left a bitter taste of loss. Let us talk to him. Let us bring him in here. With trepidation hanging in the air, they waited. The sound of shuffling feet echoed from the hallway, their father coming into view. His face was lined with confusion, and for a moment, Jake barely recognized him. "Hey, Dad," Jake started, a lump forming in his throat. "Do you want to sit with us?" Their father blinked slowly, and a flicker of recognition crossed his face. "Jake." "Ben." "Yeah, it's us," Ben said quietly but firmly. "We need to talk. We found something out." A series of emotions crossed their father's features, a heart-wrenching mix of anger and fear. "I don't want to talk about it." He raised his voice, the command holding fleeting power. Jake inhaled sharply. Hearing his father's tone, the familiar undertones made it clear he was grappling with something profound. "We're here for you." Days turned into nights as the three men navigated this new reality, often filled with uncertainty, anger, and love. There were scary paths ahead, but as Jake looked between Ben and their father, something unexpected sparked within him, a determination to hold on to every moment they had left. Then, just as they began to settle into this daunting reality, a knock sounded on the door, breaking their fragile peace. Jake glanced at Ben, whose eyes widened in confusion. "At this hour?" Jake muttered, moving toward the door, a tight knot forming in his stomach. What awaited them on the other side? The answer might shift everything Jake thought he understood about family. Just as he reached for the handle, a sudden chill wind went through him, whispering that life was about to change once again. Would he be prepared for whatever lay beyond? Jake opened the door, the sudden rush of cool night air hitting him like a revelation. Standing there on the threshold was Maria, her expression hesitant yet resolute, a basket of goodies clutched in her hands. The moment stretched, tension wrapping around the evening like a thick fog. "Jake?" she asked softly, concern written all over her face, piercing through the gloom of the house behind him. "I thought I'd check on you." Her gaze flickered to Ben and then to their father, confusion clouding her features. "Come in," Jake said, stepping aside, his voice barely a whisper as if afraid to disturb the fragile peace that hung in the air. She crossed the threshold, and he felt a strange comfort in her presence. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," she said, hesitating before laying the basket gently on the table. "No, not at all," Jake replied, his heart swelling with gratitude. The warmth of her concern melted some of the cold tension coiling around them. "We just got some news." He didn't need to elaborate, she could see it etched across his face. Maria's eyes widened slightly, then softened with understanding. Their father stood there, looking lost, the weight of the world resting heavily on his shoulders. Maria approached him, her voice tender and gentle. "Hi there, Mr. Thompson. I brought some cookies, your favorite, right?" She offered a small smile, and something flickered in his eyes, a tiny spark of recognition amidst foggy confusion. "Who are you?" He glanced at Jake, and for a moment, fear blanketed Maria. Would he remember her? "Just a friend," she said softly, not wanting to push too hard. "I'm here to help if you'd like." "How can you help me?" He sighed, conveying the burden of his grief in a simple question. But in that moment, Jake saw a shift, the way Maria's kindness began to work its magic. She didn't expect a response, she simply stood with him, a calming anchor amid the storm raging in his mind. Jake jumped in, "We're all here for you, Dad. We want to understand and ensure you have everything you need." "Everything is slipping away," his father replied, voice thick with despair. "Sometimes I don't even remember my own name." Maria's heart broke a little, and she stepped closer to him. "You are loved, and you still matter. Just hang in there, okay?" The calm vulnerability in her tone was almost contagious. It encouraged Jake, igniting something within him. In that moment, he realized life wasn't about controlling every outcome, it was about embracing what unfolded, even the difficult things. Together, he said, looking at both his father and Ben, their family bond illuminated in that single word. "We will figure this out together. Facing this as a team." Days passed as sunlight crept in, radiating warmth into their home, a metaphor for the support Maria radiated. Gradually, the dark clouds that had overhung their lives began to thin, revealing pockets of brightness. They spent evenings talking, laughing, and even crying together, sharing memories and experiences that revealed the depth of their connection, even as everything threatened to drift away. One evening, after dinner, they gathered in the living room's familiar space, laughter echoing off the walls. "Guess what?" Jake announced, feeling a weight finally beginning to lift. "We've decided to start a family project, a scrapbook. To preserve all your amazing stories, Dad." His father looked at him, a hint of pride brightening his features. "You really want to hear my stories?" "Every single one," Ben chimed in, his voice full of heart. It became a beautiful ritual, an escape from the chaos, a way to frame memories while they were still attainable. As they pieced together documents, old photographs, and heartfelt anecdotes, Jake's realization deepened. Connection transcended the boundaries of memory and present struggles, it united them with love, even in the face of uncertainty. And then, one night, just as they were about to close the scrapbook for the evening, Jake felt a familiar spark. His phone buzzed with a message from Maria. "Hey. Is tomorrow a good time to chat? I want to discuss more fun ideas for the kids." He smiled, replying quickly. "Tomorrow sounds perfect." The next day, they met at a local coffee shop, the aroma of burnt sugar and strong coffee swirling around them, soft music warming the atmosphere. Maria sat across from him, her nervous energy bubbling beneath the surface. "Jake, I'm so glad we could meet," she began, her voice slightly shaky. "I've been thinking about us. About building something that lasts." His heart leapt. "I feel it too, Maria. You mean everything to me," he confessed earnestly. "And to me," she replied, her eyes shimmering with hope. "But what I wanted to say was this: I want to face this journey with you. Together. I want my role to matter." He reached across the table, taking her hands in his. "Yes. We don't need to rush, we've already started building something special. Let us embrace the joy, even during the tough days." As they talked about plans for their lives and their children, a radiant smile broke across her face, a smile that felt like home. The challenges didn't vanish, but Jake discovered something priceless: love anchored them, creating a space to redefine their lives amidst turmoil. They became a unit, tied together by affection and understanding, as laughter filled the scars of uncertainty, the kind of laughter that rings out in truth, in the realization that even amidst hard endings, new beginnings can flourish. And one decisive night, after dinner, Jake gathered his kids around in their cozy living room. "How about we add our adventure with Scout to the scrapbook?" Mia and Ethan cheered while Maria's eyes sparkled. She beamed with happiness and pride, a family solidified by unity. Underneath the laughter, Jake felt a deep resolve, stronger than ever before. Life was unpredictable, their experiences had woven together moments of heartbreak into rich tapestries of resilience. No matter where the story led, they would walk it side by side, living fully, loving deeply. And as the season wandered onwards, hope ignited their days, trailing behind like the shimmering glow of the very stars they gazed upon. Join the tapestry of our evolving story. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss our next exclusive adventures as we dive deeper into transformation and love. Leave a like now to fuel the spark of our community. Your support matters more than you know. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings on this incredible ending. I want to hear your voice in this family. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends. Spread the inspiration, the hope, the truth of our journeys. Each share helps us create a family of hearts, united in love.